Okay, so you know I love seeing what's trending on Twitter. Do you ever sit and look at things that are trending, or is that not your cup of tea?
Whatever's on YouTube.
So it's not your cup of tea. See, you sit on YouTube and you watch stuff, and I just love reading through Twitter. But I don't use Twitter as much as a user, if
Yeah.
that makes sense. Like, I'm not saying they're typing a lot, but I love absorbing and reading and seeing. And MySpace was trending. So it was trending, and I started reading through all of the comments, and this came up. MySpace co-founder Tom Anderson, does everyone remember Tom?
Everyone knows Tom.
Everyone knows Tom. He was subject to one of the largest FBI raids in California history after hacking into a Chase Bank computer system and showing his friends how to do it. He wasn't arrested because he was 14 at the time.
So this just came out today?
Well, I think this story has been out for many, many years, but who's thinking of MySpace, Tom, today? Like some,
Yeah.
because I think it was by like some fact account that had said this, and maybe we had heard of this story a long time ago. But when I was reading, I was like, "Wait, he's hacking a Chase Bank? What is he doing?" And then you come to find out he did that at 14, and apparently he showed over 40 of his friends. He's this little freshman in high school, and he went by the hacker name Lord Flathead.
It's so interesting how being that smart, that young, is just got to be so trippy. To be able to have the wherewithal at 14 years old to hack in. But how old is Tom though? He's probably,
He was, I think, 33 when he founded it. So what is that now?
when was it founded?
Like 2003 maybe?
So he's probably almost 50.
Wow.
So back then, that was like the ages before computers were probably even, oh yeah.
Yeah.
That was probably back in like the 80s he did that. Early 90s probably.
I think he, yeah. I think he probably has one of the most legendary photos of all time on the internet.
I think there's only one photo of Tom.
Just over his shoulder, and he's got like all this crazy formulas on the back of a whiteboard behind him. And he's like,
And then all of a sudden, then Facebook came along and kind of knocked MySpace out of the game. But it's interesting because it wasn't MySpace open to the public for anybody? But then Facebook had the regulation of college at first. So I wonder how Facebook won over MySpace during that crucial time.
I mean, it's one of those things you kind of always want what you can't have. And even when I was still in high school, I was like, Brianne, that's my sister, can I borrow your email address? I really want to go on Facebook, because you had to have a college email address. And so you're like, oh, I want to get on that. I got to get into college so that I can be on there. Like, there's something about you want to get into like that secret society. You know what I'm saying? But with MySpace, I mean, I have to read you some of these tweets that I found because it's so interesting to see how other people felt about it. But one thing that was so interesting, and I know you love him, and you've told me stories about Dane Cook and MySpace, but he tweeted this: "I see MySpace trending, and it reminds me of many nights changing my top 8,
Oh, yeah.
coding banners, and being online now. I was looking for a way to make it in stand-up comedy and used it to the hilt. My philosophy was to talk to millions of people the way I would talk one-on-one." So that is what social media is today. Even when you're on Instagram or a blog or anything, you want to talk like you're talking just to one person, because that's how you connect.
Dane Cook, though, built his career from MySpace, and that sentiment is the difference that he understood back then. Because even you and I right now, we are talking on YouTube and Facebook as if we are talking to one individual person. Because in my mind, I kind of see all the comment faces. Like, I know the faces, I recognize names. And one of my favorite things about Dane Cook when I found out is that during his time when he was an upcoming comedian, he had about 20 grand left in his bank. And he was using MySpace to book and connect with his fans to fill up comedy theaters. But he needed a website, I think, to sell tickets. And he spent 18 out of his last 20,000. These numbers aren't accurate, but something like that, and bet on this. And it's what made him huge. And then he had his brother or half brother steal all his money, and then Dane disappeared for a while. Then he has a great comeback story on that. But I love that he was on MySpace early. But what you said about the top 8 would be an absolute nightmare
That
today.
would stress me out.
How would you pick top 8 right now?
I couldn't. I absolutely couldn't.
Making a wedding guest list is stressful enough, let alone your
Do the
top 8.
But I do recall that I would switch it up often because you kind of had to. You're like, oh, well, this week so-and-so's going into it. Oh, you're going to be in it this week. So lame. So lame.
You kind of seem to have a different experience than I did. MySpace, I really didn't use. My entire high school was ICQ.
Oh, so you didn't even do the AIM chat?
Nope.
Well, it's because that's what all the kids in my school use. And I was going to read you this tweet. Someone goes, we should have never left MySpace. We had background music, dope-ass banners, and we were learning code. We dropped the ball, LOL. I was all about the coding. I learned all the different colors and how to make just different. I can still see the coding in my head. And this person is so right. I was learning because I cared so much to make the page pretty, and all my friends would be like, will you do ours? Will you do ours? And now today, I mean, I can still see it, but who knows? Well, actually, when I did my blog, remember I had all that code and I learned how, it's a long story, but there's still pieces of it that I still use today, but I just completely stopped learning that. What if I would have continued to learn that from 18 to current day, working that muscle every day? So, but you guys, you didn't really, I feel like, use MySpace like that.
Social media did not become interesting to me until 2014 or 15. I had Facebook, I connected with friends, and we kind of wrote on each other's wall. But even growing up, MySpace, the only reason I got it is there was a girl I wanted to talk to when I was 17, and I got it specifically for her to communicate on.
Yeah.
And that was it. But I never really used that. Facebook I didn't really use. It was all ICQ to talk at home with my friends, and you would see if someone's online or if someone got offline. But ICQ is where I learned to type or perfected my typing.
Yeah.
And we would type back and forth, but I didn't use AIM. I did have a MySpace. I remember putting music in my top 8. But
see, that is so crazy to me because I literally met friends like through MySpace, and it was all surrounded around like concerts. Like Brooke and I used to go to all these shows like for like punk rock bands, and she would have all these friends that she met. I mean, it probably like maybe wasn't the safest, but I guess people are doing that nowadays with Tinder and stuff.
yeah,
I just remember there was such a community built on that. And then when it came to, okay, so here's the thing with ICQ, did you guys have the little friends list? I guess, is that what it was called?
I honestly don't remember
that?
much. I just remember like snapshots of like writing PAW, meaning parents are watching, so like don't swear or say anything, like something like that.
PAW, that is
And just like, yet again, it was just all early social media to me during that phase was the young Freddie like chatting with girls.
Yeah.
That was or like, oh, hey, and then so-and-so's online, and you're like, hey, we should go to the movies. Like, that was it. It wasn't me and my buddies. Like, me and my buddies would get together, and then we'd be on ICQ talking to girls. So it wasn't like me and my buddies hanging out on ICQ, really.
Because I remember after school, like later at night when I was done with homework, I'd log on, and I guess you can't really relate to the AOL sounds of, you've got mail. And the closing of the door. You don't, oh my gosh, you don't know any of those. They're so magical. But I would sit and I'd see like what friends were on, and you talk to them, of course. But it's so funny you say you're on there to talk to girls, because shocker, I'm sure that's what everyone was doing. But my first boyfriend ever, I got his screen name. And I knew who he was in school. I was like, oh, he's so cute. I got to find a way to talk to him. But he was older. So I was like, you have to be creative. And so I got his screen name, and my screen name was.
I needed to wet my whistle for this story. What can I say?
My screen name was Freddie. I'm trying to talk. Do you not want to hear my great story?
No, I do. I'm just kidding. I just felt you were going to go into a story, and this was the perfect time to subtly open my bubbly.
Do you guys want to know the juice or what?
I want to know the juice.
You want to know the juice? Oh my gosh, God help me.
The juice.
The juice is I had to be creative. So my username was BlondieXO. So weird. And I wrote this guy and I said, hey, I just got this new username or screen name. I'm so sorry. Well, younger me would be like, what's a username? My screen name. Yeah, I just got this new screen name and a bunch of my friends added to my friends list a bunch of screen names and you were on here. Who is this? That's literally what I asked him. So we started talking and then that turned into like a year and a half of a relationship. And I think I did
all
tell him.
because of online.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
So it was interesting that it didn't have the stigma of online dating of the early 2000s because you were connecting with people that you knew.
Because he went to my school.
But the actual online dating had a stigma. Now online dating is mainstream, especially now during lockdown. I'm sure that's all you do. You can't go to the bars, you can't go out anywhere unless you meet like someone at work or something. But
it's just so crazy back then. I mean, I went on one online date. You were actually there, funny enough. In 2010, remember that? That was it was through, I think, like Plenty of Fish.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, I'm going to go there. Just
There was a handful of us that went and sat at the booth to make sure he wasn't a crazy person.
He actually, I think, ended up turning out being crazy, but whatever.
Yeah.
But that was the one time that I went on one. And back then, I mean, it was kind of like, had a little stigma around it. Now it's just so normal. Everyone you know meets online.
Well, and it's interesting because I think people are calling for MySpace to come back in a nostalgic way because we remember those times, but social media is MySpace, if it came back, would be like every other social platform because the landscape of social media has changed.
But I want the old MySpace. I want it to look exactly how it was. I want there to be coding. I want there to be music. And I just want that early 2000s MySpace back.
And I want $1 million. Are we making wishes today?
Hey there! Thank you so much for stopping by our channel and checking out a clip of the Freddie and Alyssa Show. Be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future clips or highlights from the Freddie and Alyssa Show. And if you want full episodes of the Freddie and Alyssa Show, vlogs, and one-off videos, check out our main YouTube channel. The link is in the description. Again, thank you for stopping by. We appreciate you, and we'll see you on the next video.